Thank you.
Go back to your history. So I guess you're leading up to the BioInitiative report.
Indeed, yes. I mean, at that time, and we are now in the beginning of the 2000s, more and more interest came into the more general area of health effects as well as biological effects of artificial electromagnetic fields. So the interest was expanded to other types of animals, plants, bacteria, viruses, and so on. And then I was contacted by a woman, a fantastic woman, Cindy Sage in the US. And she had this idea that one should make like a compilation or catalog with relevant scientific papers. And I remember I thought, well, that's quickly done. That's quickly done, you know. And she said that maybe you could take care of the chapter regarding effects on the immune system and also in electron hypersensitivity. And I said yes. And I don't recall exactly, but I think I worked like for 9 months collecting more and more and more information, realizing that, wow, my chapter at least seems to be pretty big. And in the meantime, I didn't realize that all the other, I think there are like 20, 25 chapters altogether, they were equally big. So today we are talking about many thousands of peer-review-based scientific publications regarding these issues. And the first version was published on the internet. And then I also remember that I felt, and also other people as well, that maybe we should bring a few of the chapters into conventional peer review scrutiny by peers at the scientific journal. And we contacted the journal called Pathophysiology and asked if they could make like a special issue, because it's impossible, you know, Davida, to go to a scientific journal and say, hey, we have like 3,000-4,000 papers we want to publish a paper about. That's just too much. So we took a few of the chapters and said maybe the journal could make a special issue. And they did very, very beautifully. And peers were doing the peer review in conventional way. And my chapter was one of them that was selected. And I also rewrote, not very much, but at least as much as it would allow me to say, if you're interested, don't go to the BioInitiative report for my chapter, go to the special issue from 2009 of the journal Pathophysiology. And if anyone is interested, I could definitely send it using email to anyone. And it came out, and one funny thing happened, and I don't really have any explanation for it, but the BioInitiative report being 600 pages, a colossal document, like a Bible, you know, it was heavily criticized by, should we call it, the other side, saying that, no, that was not done under peer review, and we had cherry-picked the papers that we wanted to put focus on, and so forth. But I have never, ever heard any criticism about the chapters in this special issue of Pathophysiology. All the criticism completely died away. So I'm happy that we actually spend quite a number of months more on that special issue. And the first BioInitiative report came out 2007, I think it was. And this was 2009, 2 years after. But I learned that the published written word, when it's presented, can arouse a lot of debate and criticism. But if it is presented in the correct scientific way, no. Then suddenly everyone just went away and said, no, this is good. And they had to align with the discussion. And my paper was very interesting in the sense that I discovered again that so many people out there, you know, in this scientific void, they had already done very many studies on immune system cells, proving or presenting or demonstrating that initially our immune system kind of copes with this new situation, but very quickly it gets activated, and after some time it starts to, and I would call it leak, and it deteriorates. There were quite scary effects, and I think we talked about it some other time. When I had written this chapter for the special issue, I remember I was so much taken by my own text in the sense that I thought, no, something is wrong here. It couldn't be like this. Our modern society could not allow cellular and molecular effects of this kind to happen. There must be something wrong. And happily enough, across the street at the Department of Immunology at the Karolinska Hospital, I had a colleague, a very, very famous colleague, who was one of the foremost experts on the immune system and different provocations and exposures like to allergens and immunogens and so on. So I went to her and said, please, could you just read this text and tell me what's wrong with it, you know, because something is wrong, that's for sure. And she said, okay, well, I will do that. It will take a few weeks. And then after a few weeks, it came back in the internal mail. And she had just written a short note. No, nothing is wrong, but this is probably one of the most scary papers I have ever read in my life. And then I felt, okay, then I will send it to Pathophysiology, and the editor and the referees, they had some comments which I adhered to, and after that it was published together with other chapters that had been selected.
So,
And it has been, I should just say, it has been very, very many times cited by other scientists.
Yeah.
So it was an important contribution.
Absolutely. I don't know if she's still alive, but if she had to read it today, which is 15, 16 years later, I wonder what she would say today.
You know, you read me like an open book. I have actually pondered that, and I tried to get into contact with her, but she was here in Sweden as a guest professor, and she has gone back to her own country and probably retired. I cannot get into contact any longer, but I'm contemplating to actually send the paper to any professor of immunology, basically, asking if they could read it and just say, what do you think about it? And maybe have the same approach. It must be wrong, you know, it must be wrong, which she didn't think it was at all. She had nothing to criticize, actually. She made a point about that it was so very, very well written and very accurate down to every detail.
Yeah.
So.